So the Normal Heart really centers on the onset of the AIDS epidemic in 1980s New York specifically. And it deals with the founding of what was called the Gay Men's Health Crisis. But the place starts even before they had a word for it. What's really such a huge part of the tragedy with the AIDS epidemic is how much of that could have been avoided if there had been intervention way sooner in the process. But because it was affecting gay men the way that it was, and the 1980s and the stigma that was attached to it, how tragically underrepresented and underfunded that research was because of who it was. That there really were a lot of heroes that are depicted in the story. That it really was a heroic undertaking, and the amount of discrimination and harassment and marginalization that this community faced at the time. It is representative of the now, right? It's representative of all of the struggles that the queer community and any marginalized community continues to deal with. And so it's important to continue to put those stories out for kind of our broader social consciousness. It's just a heavy play, when you're dealing with an epidemic, when you're dealing with the AIDS epidemic. It's just challenging. It's an emotional experience. And so you're kind of, as a director, you're ushering folks into telling a story that is highly charged. It's highly political. It's highly, there's so many issues of social justice that are at play, but even just the relational issues between these characters. It's incredibly moving. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly tragic. It's like we're not just depicting a fictional story, right? This tragic fictional story that is moving and all of that. When you couple it that it was actual life that happened, when these are circumstances that people really faced, I think it just hits in a different way. It hits a little bit deeper. And so I really do think that the cast and I have really taken this approach of what a gift it is to tell this story, what a gift it is to kind of memorialize some of these people, because the reality is that many of the characters that are portrayed on stage ended up contracting HIV and AIDS and dying from it. And so there is a memorialization that happens, which is so important in our, it's important in our world, right? It's it's important to recognize the lives that were lost. I think for me, there's a real value in being able to kind of confront an audience, sometimes in an uncomfortable way, in an intentionally uncomfortable way, but when you see it embodied in front of you, you're able to encounter a story that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. At the end of the day, I hope that people just appreciate the person next to them a little bit more, and want to know someone else's experience and their journey and their struggle, and anything that we can kind of educate and bring awareness to and represent on stage that hopefully brings a little bit more kindness and tolerance and love into the world is always a good thing.